Hi there. Today we highlight important regional human rights mechanisms and legal frameworks designed to support and protect women's rights and the defenders working to advance them. Two key instruments are the Protocol to the African Charter on Human and People's Rights on the Rights of Women in Africa, commonly known as the Maputo Protocol, and the Special Rapporteur on the Rights of Women in Africa under the African Commission on Human and People's Rights. The Maputo Protocol is one of the most powerful legal frameworks for women's rights in Africa. It was adopted by the African Union in 2003 and sets clear standards for governments to protect women's rights, including protection from violence, participation in political and public life, and access to justice. How can women human rights defenders use it in practice? First, as an advocacy tool, women human rights defenders can use the protocol to remind governments of the commitments they have made and to push for stronger laws, policies, and protection measures for women. Second, through monitoring and reporting. When state parties submit periodic reports on the measures they have taken to implement the rights recognized under the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, women human rights defenders can submit shadow reports highlighting gaps between government commitments and the lived realities of women and girls, while also documenting progress where it exists. Third, through national advocacy. Women human rights defenders can advocate for governments to ratify the protocol. That is, if they have not yet done so, and to domesticate its provisions into national law where it has already been ratified. To date, 46 African Union member states have ratified the Maputo Protocol, but meaningful implementation still requires sustained advocacy from civil society. Another important avenue is the Special Rapporteur on the Rights of Women in Africa, a special mechanism of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights. This mechanism monitors the implementation of the Maputo Protocol and other regional standards and addresses violations of women's rights across the continent. Women human rights defenders can engage with this mechanism in several practical ways. For example, you can submit information about violations, including attacks against women human rights defenders. You can also share reports, documentation, or urgent concerns with the Special Rapporteur's office to bring attention to specific situations or patterns of abuse. Importantly, you do not need formal accreditation to communicate with a Special Rapporteur. Women human rights defenders and organizations can also participate in sessions of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, where they can raise concerns, engage with the commissioners, and contribute to discussions on the protection and promotion of women's rights on the continent. By using tools like the Maputo Protocol and engaging with mechanisms of the African Commission, women human rights defenders can strengthen their advocacy, raise visibility on violations, and hold governments accountable to their obligations. Because protecting women's rights also means protecting the defenders who stand up for them.